The young alien royal stood on the balcony of the crystalline palace, eyes glinting like liquid silver as he watched the human approach. The terraces below shimmered under the planet's twin suns, casting long streaks of golden light across the polished floors. The human's boots clanged softly against the stone, but the sound was almost lost in the hum of the city beyond. He carried himself with a quiet strength that made him seem both fragile and unyielding at once. The royal's lips curled into a dismissive smile. "You dare to enter my halls unannounced, human?" he asked, his voice dripping with mockery. His tone carried a sharp edge, a deliberate insult that was meant to wound, yet entertained those who lingered in the shadows of the palace corridors. The human said nothing. He stopped at a respectful distance, letting the silence stretch like a blade. His dark hair fell in uneven strands over his forehead, and his eyes, unusually calm, held no sign of fear. He did not shrink. He did not flinch. The alien royal took a step closer, the light catching the curve of his elongated features. "Do you even know who I am?" he hissed, as though the answer itself should intimidate the human. Around them, the air vibrated with tension. Servants had stopped their duties, and even the wind seemed to pause, waiting for a reaction that might not come. The human shifted his weight, but made no move to respond. His jaw tightened, yet his expression remained neutral, almost serene. The alien royal's eyes narrowed. It was not the look he expected. There was no fear, no trembling, no appeal for mercy. Only quiet patience. "You think yourself brave, do you?" The royal continued, his voice rising. "Bold enough to stand before me with your primitive body and your feeble weapons?" He gestured toward the holstered blade at the human's side, as if daring him to draw it. Still, the human remained silent. He did not reach for his weapon. He did not raise his voice. He merely inhaled, slow and steady, and then, as if a decision had quietly settled in his mind, he turned. Without a word, without a sound, he began to walk away. The young royal froze. The words he had intended to sting hung uselessly in the air. The insult, sharp and honed, had bounced off an invisible barrier. The human's back, straight and unwavering, left a heavier impression than any blade could have inflicted. "Wait!" The royal called, but even to his own ears, the words sounded weak, desperate. The human did not turn. He did not even glance backward. The faint rhythm of his footsteps carried him farther and farther from the balcony. A murmur rippled through the gathered court. Whispers of shock and disbelief echoed off the crystalline walls. No one had ever seen a human ignore an insult so completely, much less walk away from a royal court without consequence. Yet here he was, leaving the hall as if the laws of alien etiquette, honor, and fear did not exist. The royal clenched his fists, the muscles in his arms tightening under the pale skin. Anger burned, sudden and fierce, but it was tinged with confusion. How could a human be so calm, so controlled? Was it arrogance? Or something else entirely? He turned back to his advisors, who shifted uneasily under his gaze. "Did you see that?" he demanded. "He walked away from me. From my words." The eldest advisor, a figure draped in dark robes, inclined his head slowly. "It is true, Your Highness." He did not respond. "It is. Unusual, but it may be wise to consider that humans operate differently than we do." "Different?" "Different," the young royal snapped, stepping closer to the edge of the balcony. "This is an insult to the crown. An insult to me. What kind of creature dares to behave so insolently?" "He is human, not like us," the advisor said quietly. "His strength lies not only in his body, but in his mind. Perhaps he does not recognize your insult as a challenge, as we would. Perhaps his silence is a form of strategy." The royal's eyes flashed with fury, but there was also a glimmer of curiosity. "Strategy?" Could a human so small and seemingly fragile possess a mind capable of outmaneuvering a royal court without even speaking? Meanwhile, the human moved down the wide stairway, his pace unhurried. The people in the hall whispered as he passed, some leaning closer to catch a glimpse of the calm determination etched in his face. He did not glance at the alien soldiers who lined the corridors, their fingers tight on the hilts of their weapons. He did not react to the stares, the gasps, or the faint smirks of amusement that occasionally flickered across the faces of the nobles. Outside, the twin suns were setting, casting long shadows over the palace grounds. The human paused for a moment at the edge of the gardens, where the alien flora shimmered in hues of violet and gold. He looked up, as if taking in the beauty, yet his mind was elsewhere. He had not come here to insult, nor to be insulted. He had come with a purpose that mattered far beyond the petty rivalries of royal heirs. The young royal, watching from above, felt an unfamiliar sensation twist in his chest. He had expected anger to dominate the encounter, to watch the human squirm or show some sign of fear. Instead, he felt unsettled. The human's composure had left a mark. An invisible weight pressing against the royal sense of superiority dot in the halls. Whispers grew louder. He walked away, and yet he holds himself so proudly. I have never seen a human act like this. Is it possible that the human knows something we do not? The royal could not answer these questions. All he knew was that the human had defied him without defiance, had ignored his words without insult, and had walked away with a strength that made the royal's own power seem fragile. He clenched his jaw and turned back toward the hall, the memory of the human's calm form lingering like smoke. It was a sensation he did not understand, and yet it intrigued him. For centuries, his family had ruled with power and intimidation, teaching every young heir that dominance was earned through fear and control. But this human, this simple creature had shown a power that was not granted by title or wealth, but by something deeper. The human paused again at the edge of the gardens, this time to observe a small pond where the waters reflected the colors of the dying suns. For a moment, he allowed himself to relax, to breathe. He had come with a mission, one that required more than mere strength or weaponry. He had come to prove that humanity's resilience could rival any alien empire, that calmness could be mightier than rage, and that patience could accomplish what violence never could. The young royal descended from the balcony, moving through corridors that seemed emptier now that the human had left. His mind was restless, turning over the encounter again and again. What had he expected? Submission? Apology? A flinch? And yet none had come. Only silence, only measured steps away from the throne that had once defined his world. For the first time, he began to doubt the teachings of his ancestors. He began to see that perhaps there was more to power than control, more to influence than fear, more to strength than physical dominance. And most of all, he began to see that a single human, by choosing not to respond to insult, could teach lessons that centuries of training could not. The human reached the outer wall of the palace grounds, where the alien guards finally made their presence known. They stepped forward, demanding his identity, questioning his right to be here. He turned his head slightly, meeting their gaze calmly. "I am a messenger," he said softly, though every word carried weight. "And I have no quarrel here except to deliver truth." The guards hesitated, unsure how to respond to someone who radiated authority without aggression. His silence had already unsettled the royal court, and now his words added another layer of quiet command. Inside, the young royal leaned against a carved pillar, his mind racing. He had underestimated the human, and in that underestimation, he had glimpsed a different kind of strength. The human did not need to fight, did not need to shout, and yet had emerged victorious simply by refusing to play by the expected rules. The sun had nearly set, leaving the sky in shades of deep crimson and violet. The human moved on, his purpose intact, his presence a quiet challenge to everything the young royal had ever believed. And the royal, for the first time, wondered what it might mean to truly understand strength, not as a weapon, but as a will dot in the following days. The palace buzzed with debate. Scholars, advisors, and even other nobles spoke of the human's unusual demeanor. "It is not arrogance," one whispered, "but discipline." Another added, "Perhaps humans are more dangerous than we thought." They wield patience as a weapon, and silence as armor. The young royal remained silent through all of this, thinking back to that moment on the balcony. He could still see the human steady back, feel the weight of the unspoken lesson. And though pride burned in his chest, it was tempered now by something unfamiliar: respect. He realized that power was not only measured by fear or titles. Sometimes it was measured by the courage to walk away, by the patience to endure, and by the quiet certainty that the world would shift, if not in fear. Then, in acknowledgment of true strength, the human had insulted no one, yet had taught everyone a lesson. The royal had expected fire, but instead found water, cool, patient, unyielding water that could erode mountains of arrogance over time. And somewhere deep inside, he knew he would never forget this human, nor the silent way he had rewritten the rules of strength. The palace continued its routines. The twin suns rose and fell, but the echoes of that day lingered, like a quiet hum beneath the grand architecture. The young royal often found himself glancing toward the gardens, wand,